Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we have Danger Eldlich. Now this is a very consistent deck, mainly because of dangers, and on top of that, dangers are able to dump your spells and traps into the graveyard, which just further boosts the deck. And I just like the deck as a whole. If I were to change something about the deck, it's a pretty decent deck. We're up against a future meta deck, Drytron Invoked. And before we go on to the video, remember to smash that subscribe button, as it really does help support the channel, and don't forget to ring the notification bell too. So right here, they are going to be going first. Drytron Invoked is a very consistent deck. They've got basically a Rhoda, they've got something that can search anything. They're just going to get some Angel Benton for now. They have a field spell that searches anything. They've got a ritual spell that basically searches everything, but they're just gonna do Vanity's Ruler Pass. Personally, I would not recommend Vanity's Ruler Pass. At least end on a few disruptions, as in just today's metagame in general, Vanity's Ruler is a lot easier to get over through cards like Lightning Storm and spot removal, such as Eldlich the Golden Lord. So still, I mean, Vanity's Ruler, I will give it a 5 out of 2 for an attempt. And why do you play Vanity's Ruler in an invoked build when you're just trying to reserve the normal summon for the invoked engine? Don't really understand his choices. Vanity's Ruler and invoked clash. So that's one of the basics of deck building. Do not build a deck where two cards kind of contradict each other. So we're gonna get out the Vanity's Ruler using our Eldlich. We're gonna activate our dangers. Chupacabra gets an empty hit, and we activate Mothman. It also gets hit, but fortunately we do draw Brow, so we get an extra draw. We set one and Allure of Darkness. I opted get rid of the Tsuchinoko, as this deck doesn't really need the extenders necessarily. It more needs the cards in the graveyard. So we're just gonna go ahead and activate Mothman. And I forget that we've already triggered Mothman this turn, so it doesn't trigger. So probably should have just said Tsuchinoko. Eldlich will trigger, getting something. We already have Golden Knight Forever and that on the field. So just with the sheer amount of interruptions we have right now, it's very hard for our opponent to just play. They're going to roll some Alistair. They're just going to get a couple of stuff. They're going to activate Invocation. We have a backup Sanguine, so it doesn't matter too much. They're going to activate Gamma, and then we're going to Huaquero. I think they activate Alpha. We're just going to Huaquero that. They activate Meteor Shower, and we just opt to pop the Alistair. At this point, it's a pretty easy game. We activate Sanguine, setting a copy of Conquistador, and then we can just attack for game. So it just shows the sheer amount of consistency that an already consistent deck Eldlich can just put up. On top of that, sometimes you can also end on an Apollousa, which just helps the deck even more. I just really like this deck, and let's go straight to our next deck, shall we? For our next duel, we are up against Cosmo, I believe. Don't know why somebody plays back to the front. I think Cosmo do play that card. Cosmo, I don't know how Cosmos work. So they're just gonna start off by normal summon of this thing. Don't know what it does, too lazy to read. We have a pretty danger heavy hand. Ogopogo gets hit out of the 6 cards in her hand, and we're just gonna discard more cards just to do more stuff. We get some for Bigfoot. We draw one, discard Brow triggers, drawing one more. We get the special summon for Magician's Souls, and we are able to discard both the things in our hand. We activate Thunderburst, summons itself. Chupacabra will trigger, summoning out Ogopogo. We activate Allure of Darkness, drawing more cards. We'll activate Nessie. Fortunately, we do hit it. This was a very risky play right here. I should have just gone into an Apollousa, but I really wanted to go for the ODK. But Cosmo does stuff and somehow like summons a monster. I don't know how Cosmos work. I'm not gonna read them. We're gonna have a Sanguine and our Elixir, and we'll get more stuff. He's gonna Cosmojo his card right here in order to banish something, and then I think that like has some sort of floating. I don't know. Or we're just gonna do Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord Pass. They're gonna get activate that thing. They're gonna attack over my Phoenix and deal me some damage. We're gonna activate Quaquero during the end step, just so that we can, fortunately, we get normal summon Eldlich Golden Lord. That thing like has some sort of floating effect. I negate it with my Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord, and from there, he has no way to get this level 5 card out of his hand. He's going to top deck Emergency Teleport. It wouldn't really help him too much in this scenario, but it would have been pretty difficult for him to recover from this state, so he kind of conceded. Let's go on to our last replay for today then. For our last replay, we are up against Numeron. I think it is pure Numeron. No, this Numeron Sky Striker. Interesting. I've never seen this variant before. But let's see how this plays out. We're going first, of course, and we're going to start off with the Mothman. Mothman hits Mothman because we did have 2 in our hand. We're going to draw 1. We're going to discard Sanguine. We're going to go ahead, activate the Mothman again. We discard Jackalope. We get summoned for Dogman. We're going to summon some more stuff. Sanguine triggers, getting us a Conquistador. And we're going to go into Phoenix. The reason why we went for the Phoenix beforehand is because Apollousa requires monsters with different names, and we had 2 Dogman. Not Dogman, Mothman. So we had to just get rid of 1, and we end on 3 negate Apollousa. So it's not half bad. Our play right here, we have Golden Land Forever, Conquistador, and Scarlet Sanguine. I allow him to out my Apollousa. They activate Numeron Network. We're going to activate Conquistador and our Scarlet Sanguine just to pop that Numeron Network, because I'm very uncomfortable with that right there. They have Call by Grave and Metaverse. I just negate Metaverse right there. And we'll set a copy of Conquistador with our thing. We're gonna attack for some damage. I opt to keep this Magician's Souls in my hand just for later. Magician's Souls isn't that great right now because the only set card we have is Conquistador, and we don't really want to lose it. They don't activate he doesn't activate his network because he knows I have Conquistador. We drew 2. We drew an Apprentice Illusion Magician and a Danger Nessie. That means I could just banish my Magician's Souls, discard the Nessie in order to search a card, but he just calls by Grave it. But doesn't matter too much because he is going to get OTK'd and he concedes. So this deck, very, very consistent in what it does. It has draw cards like Allure of Darkness and whatnot. It just draws a lot of cards, and I really, really like this deck. It might not necessarily be competitive, but it's probably one of the funner Eldlich variants, to be honest. So those were the replays. Let's go straight to the deck profile now. So right here we have the deck. We start off with 2 copies of Golden Lord. You don't necessarily need to run more than 2 copies unless your opponent just heavily relies on, like, if they're playing a deck like Control BA, they just like to banish a lot of your opponent's cards. So I'd say maybe running a 3rd Eldlich in the side deck might be worth it. But for now, I just need to run 2 because it can just recur itself. 2 copies of Danger Bigfoot and 2 copies of Thunderbird. Thinking of bumping these 2 up, they just put in a lot of work. But they are just pretty nice cards. They're only good going second, unfortunately, but they're just very, very good for spot removal. 1 copy of Danger Nessie. Unfortunately, it's limited. The best danger, in my opinion, because this deck doesn't necessarily need to extend, but does need the capability to just dump your entire hand into the graveyard, which is what Nessie just accomplishes in doing. 1 copy of Apprentice Illusion for Magician's Souls. 3 copies of Mothman. Mothman is just probably one of the better dangers for now, just because it can also, even if it's hit, you still get to discard a card, which is super great. And I forgot about Shaddoll Beast. Shaddoll Beast, if it's sent to graveyard by card effect, you just get to draw a card, which is very nice. 2 copies of Chupacabra. You don't need to run more than 2, because if you do see it in your opening hand, you are pretty much screwed, because, well, it's not really screwed, but if you get it in your opening hand and it ends up getting hit, it's not that great. So just 2 Chupacabra for now, because it is a pretty great card at extending and going into this link for Apollousa right here. 3 copies of Brow. You just want to see this as often as possible in combination with your dangers, as the extra draws do help a ton. 1 copy of Snack and 1 copy of Jackalope. They're just extra extenders, usually just to go for the 4 negate Apollousa. 1 copy of Frankendrup in combination with the 1 copy of Emergency Teleport Frankenderp is basically a free draw, and if you see this before your emergency teleport, you can feel free to just normal summon it. You don't really use your normal summon that much. If you see your apprentice illusion magician before your magician souls, once again you can just normal summon the magician souls too. You know, cause you don't use your normal summon in this deck. It's even the dangers, you don't normal summon them. The 3 Magician Souls just helps you get rid of more Eldlich cards from your hand, which is quite insane, just drawing 2. And it's always good to have a back row of Conquistador, Huaquero, Golden Land Forever, and the Sanguine. Just nice to have it. 3 copies of Allure of Darkness. Every single monster in our deck is dark except Eldlich Golden Lord. 1 copy of Elixir Black Awakening. Black Awakening is pretty nice, mainly because Black Awakening and White Destiny. Sometimes if you have a very trash hand and end up not drawing any of your dangers, Black Awakening can sometimes come in clutch, but it's usually just used for its graveyard effect. Then 1 copy of Emergency Teleport for Frankenderp. 1 copy of Elixir White Destiny. In some instances, it's better than Black Awakening. Sometimes just because if you end up burning through both your Eldliches, through your Elixir of Scarlet Sanguine, this is probably your best option from there on out. 3 copies of Curse Land. It basically just searches anything, or rather just dumps it to the graveyard with your dangers. Land is just always a very solid card. 3 copies of Scarlet Sanguine to summon out your Eldlich Golden Lord. 3 copies of Conquistador for the pops. 1 copy of Huaquero for DD Crow, and finally 1 copy of Golden Land Forever for just generic negates. Doesn't work particularly well with your dangers, but just a very solid card to have. I would want to put Pot of Avarice, but we are very tight on space, and I'd rather not waste this 3 extra slots on just Pot of Avarice when it's probably more consistent just as it is right here right now. For our extra deck, you could probably just change this a lot. This is there's a lot left to be desired. Like maybe you can take out this Dingirsu right here. Not a very great extra deck, but let's go straight to it. 1 copy of Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Juggernaut Libe. This is basically just for OTKs. If you're able to get 2 Golden Lord on field, you can overlay into Guzamax, deal 2k, and then you go into Libe, and you basically have a Libe that can attack 3 times, which is super great. 1 copy of Hard Earth Dragon. You usually just summon it off Drag Lubion if I find him. Basically, if you know your opponent can't really play end on a couple of disruptions, or you're able to disrupt your opponent so much they don't even have any plays and they just set their entire hand, Hard Earth Dragon banishes everything. It's very difficult to play after you resolve Hard Earth Dragon, which is what I like about this card. 1 copy of Full Armor Photon Dragon. Sometimes you can just rank it up from Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord if you just negated something, and then during your opponent's turn you just want to rank up into Full Armor Photon Dragon, and you get the extra pop on top of a 4k attack beat stick, which is very good. 1 copy of Drag Lubion can basically summon most of these cards right here. The notable ones being Neuron Dragon and Hard Earth Dragon. Sometimes even Hope Harbingers in some cases, but just a very nice card to have, Drag Lubion. 2 copies of Hope Harbinger. You're usually just going to use 1 as your fodder for Drag Lubion. The other one you might hard summon, but that's the main reason why we do run 2. 1 copy of Dingirsu. Not only does it protect your cards, it also just when summoned you can just send a card your opponent controls to the graveyard. It's not targeted, not destruction removal, which is really what I like about it. 1 copy of Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord is a free monster negate, which is very nice. 1 copy of Neuron Dragon for OTKs. 1 copy of Mech Knight Crusader Avermax. Once again, it's just a very defensive card. I made this a while ago. This extra deck is kind of old, so you might actually take that out for access code, because in some cases that's just easier to access. Get an access code, just easier to get to, and it's probably better because it's a walking spell speed for destroy your opponent's entire field. 1 copy of World Sword for the ODKs. 1 copy of Apollousa. You can usually end on 4 negate Apollousa with your Danger Engine. 1 copy of Nightmare Unicorn Phoenix for spot removal, and that's the deck. I hope you enjoyed it. Do like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.